So officially, welcome very much to our webinar or online seminar today, the first moment. So what do we need? What do we mean with the first moment? Right. So this is what we will be talking about. Okay.
So the first moment of contact is what this, or the first moment when you get in touch with somebody who's, for example, telling you that they have been diagnosed with cancer, or that they're totally distraught and feel like they're in a terrible situation. We want to be talking about the way that you feel once you are confronted with this information, and what you can do to deal with this information so that your reaction doesn't impact yourself negatively, doesn't impact the dynamic between you and the person you're talking to negatively, and doesn't impact the person negatively. So we have a couple of situations that
I'm trying to open my slides, and for some reason, okay, now. I was just thinking, why is it not opening?
Hi, Connie. Thanks for joining.
Yes, Connie. So we said already we will record the session. If you feel uncomfortable, we're happy if you take off your screen. And we are planning to have some breakout sessions. And then it is nice if you come back with your video, but this will not be recorded. Okay, so let me start to share my screen with our beautiful presentation. Okay. So, yes, we said today we're talking about the first moment that we are getting in contact with someone that has cancer. And most of us, we're starting as private people. We have not asked your background, where you're coming from. Maybe you are already, I don't know, nurses, and you're familiar with getting in touch with cancer patients. But a lot of us, we just have never experienced it, or just maybe with a friend, or someone in our vicinity that we get the first contact with. And then it is this, what am I supposed to do now? How should I react? What will be maybe helpful? Or, what do we say? This is what we, okay. This is what we think about. And so we have like a few scenarios for examples, that you might have experienced or is familiar with you. Like if a friend of yours has been diagnosed with cancer and is totally distraught at this moment, and don't know what to do. Or maybe someone in your family has maybe a little niece or a sister or the mother, or someone has leukemia, and they don't know how, or you feel that they want to talk to you, and you're thinking of, okay, how can I respond to that?
Or for example, if it's a person that is not particularly close to you, but somebody you've known for a long time, like a colleague you've been working for with years, who's been on sick leave, and they call you to say their goodbyes because a doctor has told them that they only have days to live, and all the feelings and emotions that come with that. We want to be talking about how to handle that, what comes up. Or maybe if you already are in the medical field or in the healthcare field, and you have a patient who is dying, and no one has told you them yet, or him or her, how to handle with the stress and how to handle the situation.
Yes. So these are all scenarios of what could happen to us anytime, and where we probably think about, okay, what to do. So, of course, a lot of arrays of feelings and emotions can arise, right? So, and for like to get you slowly into the mood of sharing a little bit, please share in the chat box what could actually a possible reaction of yours if you would be in one of these situations. And are you opening the whiteboard, Tara?
Yep, on it.
Awesome. Hi.
Additionally, it's something when you're in this situation with some emotions, you might think you cannot share with the person because they're already in a vulnerable situation and you don't want to overload them with what you're feeling. If there's somebody else in the room. So the overwhelm could also be part of the context, right? That you're in this situation and you're overwhelmed by the situation already.
Yes. So, Irene, you were diagnosed with cervical cancer and went on remission, and it recurred, but you feel calm now. So now you come actually from the other side, from having experienced this, and probably you also got into the situation that you spoke with others and let them know, and then you felt like, that they were kind of not sure how they should react now. Should they pity you or should they, I find that interesting. Thank you so much for sharing, and so good that you feel calm now.
Connie is writing empathetic with the patient. Yep, that's an important one. Also, when you compare empathy to pity, that's something completely different. And we're going to be talking about the different situations or the different positions that you can react from. That pity usually is from a top down, like assuming that the other person is lower, so to speak, and empathy is more from eye to eye on the same level. So thanks for sharing that, Connie. We have quite a lot.
Yes.
Thank you for
Amazing. That. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So we can take this and keep it in our mind, and then we continue with the presentation, and we will see where we can use this again. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your participation. I'm going to close the whiteboard. Brings us to the topic of feelings in general and the question on how feelings are created. Just as a little background to then go and talk about the different feelings that we've just written down and that we discussed, and that could be part of the situation when you have that first moment of contact. I don't know if you want to start sharing the presentation again, Erica. Right. So basically, what science has established is that our feelings are created based on evaluations that we give to a situation. This sounds like it's a cognitive process that it's going on, but more often than not, it happens automatically. And these evaluations are not something that you actually think about, but they're inherent in your system. Like they basically just are front and center before your prefrontal cortex has even realized what's going on. That's part of why it's sometimes feelings just happen so quickly without us really being able to influence them yet. But first of all, what this means is that feelings and the way we handle feelings have everything to do with how we evaluate them, the meaning that we give to them, and the meaning that our brain gives to each situation that we're in. And then our brain and our body obviously sends corresponding signals to certain glands, and then messenger substances are released, like neurotransmitters that create certain feelings of joy or unhappiness, etc. And that's ultimately what then when we check with ourselves, we perceive as our feelings, and we feel good or bad or all the things that we've just listed on the whiteboard as well, given the situation and the background that we give to the situation.
Yeah, so it is a learned basically behavior. It is something that from all the experiences we have made, things that we came up with, and we have never really checked if that is true or not, or, you know, because we can only trace them backwards and say, oh, okay, I feel right now this and this. How come? Maybe all of you have experienced this, that you wake up in the morning and you feel really good and you think, wow, you could rock the world. And then all of a sudden, you feel disturbed and really crappy. And you think, what happened? I didn't speak with anybody, you know, nothing. Where did this come from? And when we trace back, this was something we thought of, and that created these negative feelings within us. So it is really, for me, that was an eye opener to see, okay, how this is actually, how they are made, and maybe where I can interfere and can make some changes. Yeah.
Right. So this, in this next step, basically happens what you were just describing, that you trace back, you know, how those feelings, how that bad feeling came about, and what the situation was that, or your judgment of a situation was that generated that feeling. Right. So once we know what the meaning is that we give to a situation, or a meaning we give to a conversation or a dynamic or a person, it becomes easier for us to understand our behavior, the behavior of others, and then, like you said, we're able to better change it and influence it.
And we want to give you a first glimpse today. Yes, what's this? So, and now we have already our first group work coming up.
So for this, what we want you to do, like you can see on the slide, is just to introduce yourself briefly, who you are, how you, what your background is, and then start by telling or speaking about a situation that you remember in this context and what you were feeling in the moments, and if or what you saw was the effect on the other person. So for example, if any of the examples we were listing before rings a bell, like if anybody has ever told you that they have cancer, or if you had to tell somebody, etc., you can talk about the feelings that you had in those moments.
Yeah, so for those of you that have the camera off, once you're in the breakout rooms, then it will be nice if you turn them on and if you get in a communication with the other participants. And so we will call you back maybe. So I've put 3 people in a room, let's say 2-3 minutes each, like, okay, let's say 6 minutes. Then we call you back into the room, okay?
Okay. And before we go, try to find out what your assumptions and beliefs were behind those feelings, and try, you know, to figure out what perception of them could have been more helpful, or how you could be of more help.
Yeah. Anita, you said you can only listen. That's no problem. You can still participate, and you just type something in the chat when you're with the 2 others. Okay.
See you. So we'll see you back here.
So we want to hear all about your experience and your sharings in the group. So what did you find? What beliefs did you find? Would like any one of you like to start? I don't know, can you hear the thunder?
Yeah.
Where I am right now? Okay.
Wow, that is loud.
Yeah. So maybe I mute myself so that you're not distracted.
It doesn't distract me. It actually creates a nice atmosphere.
Okay, good.
getting a tropical thunderstorm.
Yes.
If you don't feel like talking, you can write in the chat what the beliefs that were connected to the emotions that you found, and if you had found anything to replace them with, or if you shared a possibility of re-evaluating those beliefs to also change the emotion behind it.
Maybe you had some great insights that we also would love to hear about.
And we're gonna also talk about some of the dynamics that go into this in a moment. But before we do this, we would just like to hear from you how these things were for you, or what you learned from the others, and how, I don't know, I think in my case, it would be something dealing with, for example, the pressure of thinking I'm responsible now and I have to do something to make this person feel better, and how something else could replace that feeling, or a different evaluation could help me in this situation. And not everybody at the same time, please.
Don't be shy.
Well, hi, I'm Charmaine.
Charmaine.
I guess for me, it wasn't, I don't know, when I first came into contact with someone who had cancer, it was just a feeling of numbness. Like I didn't know what to do. And I think I just immediately blocked out all emotions and just started to thinking very logically to do the things that I thought or believed to be helpful to the family, helpful to the patient, and that was it. And it wasn't until my aunt wasn't around that I allowed those feelings to come up. So during the time that I was with her at the hospital, or seeing people, like seeing everybody there with her, when I recall now, I don't think I felt like I was allowing myself to feel until after. So that was something that I thought that was interesting, and in the sense that there was this initial kind of frozen moment, and then I didn't feel until after.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very, very helpful. Also because it brings up the issue of overwhelm, and how sometimes we react to overwhelm by just going into a different dimension of functioning, that we tend to overfunction in order not to feel those emotions because they're just too much.
But now it's a little different. Now I know, I understand how to kind of process them, but back then I just didn't know how, and no one taught me how. So I just kind of,
So then maybe you have also something for the second sentence here. How did you replace them? These initial feelings from back then. So now you said you would know actually how to react in a different way.
Now it's I guess it's more like I think I've accepted the fact that life and death is it's part of life, is the cycle of life. And because of the line of work that I'm slowly getting myself into, I'm a wellness and mindfulness coach now. It really helped me change the perspective, like the way I look at life now, like in the way I conduct myself, the way I approach my clients. And because I've also seen more clients who have like serious conditions and cancers, that I can actually help them hold the space for them to feel. And that to me was something that's way more freeing for me. to I guess that's the way I approach it now, is because I see it as it's just part of life. No one can get away from it. I think just shifting that perspective of it's okay, you know.
Just probably having maybe some empathy in that moment.
Yeah. That's the word. Empathy for like myself, and so that I can also have that compassion and empathy for the people I'm working with. So yeah.
Right.
So much.
And it's kind of what was missing for you in that moment, right? To have somebody to hold that space with.
Yeah.
And now it's something to give others. So that's a valuable replacement, you know, to empower others and yourself in that sense. Great. Thank you so much.
Well, we have a nice sharing from Mel. So I just read it. For me, it was my husband that was diagnosed with a terminal cancer in November 22. I initially felt angry because our first diagnosis that something was wrong was a terminal one. You know, I drew on my skills as a social worker to reflect on this and to realize that I felt helpless and overwhelmed. I've since started to ensure that, as well as helping him to manage his diagnosis and declining health, that I also take time to be myself and reach out to others for support. That is wonderful. Gives me goosebumps, you know. It is really, wonderful to see how you could turn that around, probably with all the things that you have learned since November. So it's not that very long. We a lot of times we forget, especially when we have so close relationships, or like people that we have so close relationships with, and to only support them, and we totally forget about ourselves, right? Yeah. And also anger, you know, this is something that, you know, to dare to feel angry, because this is something that we don't allow us in this situation to feel this anger towards whatever, you know, but really to say, you know what, I am angry and I could scream. Yeah.
And to give space to that feeling, I think that's very helpful, to not categorize those feelings into acceptable ones, right? And others that aren't acceptable. And to own that and come from a position where you know that that's okay. Which, should we move on to use that as a segue to the next slide, which what you shared really plays into this, right? Into the sense that with those emotions coming up, there's nothing pathological about that. There's nothing to be ashamed of or to be fearful of, but it's the basic attitude of I'm okay and you're okay. And to have the knowledge that I can think and I can trust myself, and I can trust that from today on, you can think too.
Yeah, so one example that I can bring, so from my own experience, is, you know, since I'm trained in so many things, so when somebody that I know comes with a diagnosis, not to make assumptions that they would like to have now some kind of treatment help, or, you know, so to be careful to say, no, this is a totally okay person, and if they ask me, that is something different, but I will not come and say, oh, you know, and you should not do this and you should do that. So this is very tempting. So this goes back to this, you know, I'm okay and you are okay too. And I trust that you can make decisions for yourself. You can express what you need. I can express what I need. And to really have that, like Frauke said, or Tara said before, not have it on eye level. Yeah. So don't look down on someone and thinking, because the moment I look down, definitely I elevate myself, and that's what we don't want to do. Yeah.
Right. And even if you're not doing it on purpose, right? Because what was being shared before was also part of this thing where just holding the space, what you're describing right now, Elke, with this attitude is just being able to accept the situation as it is, and to also tolerate your own anxiety that you have and your own feelings that you have in this situation, and not trying to get out of them by going, for example, into problem solving mode if that's not what the other person wants from you.
Yes, exactly. So now I'm rather in the position to say, okay, you know, what could I do that will help you right now?
Which basically goes back to the second point of, I can perceive my own needs and I can trust you that you perceive yours. And I can express my needs and you can express yours, so that this situation doesn't happen where you think, oh, this person is in a terrible situation and in terrible shape. Now I have to do something to get myself out of my feelings and to help the person when they're not even asking for your help, for example.
Yeah.
And this brings us, is there anything you would like to add to this, Elke, or should I move on?
No, I think you can move on. If none of you has a question, please feel also free to jump
Can
in.
I say something?
Yes,
yes.
Yeah, I really like that slide, that point. It's quite new to me. I'm a cancer nurse and deal with cancer patients every day. And it's a new concept about I'm okay, you're okay, to me. And because I don't know, well, that's what I shared in our room, that I feel that just an example of a recent patient, that he is in denial, and so he wasn't listening to what the doctors and the nurses are telling him about his cancer. And that's my feeling, that's my assumption. And I would like to have this attitude that I'm okay, you're okay. But a lot of the time, patients take time to accept what they are listening.
Yes.
So they don't know that, they may not know their needs, and they may not be able to express their needs. If you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so I think I totally understand what you're meaning. So in the common scenario, it is like we want to tell them, you should do this, you should do that. And, you know, instead of encouraging them, if they don't know, to help them finding out for them, you know, instead of following somebody just because somebody with a white coat said something, you know, they're still their own person, you know, so, and to feel that we're just consultants, you know, and to help them, but that the decisions, it's something they have to do, you know. Yeah, this is what I understood. Is it what you meant? Yeah.
And also when
yeah, but because we are professionals, we have to do things for them, like, you know, help them get to their appointments, or and so we that's the thing, that's our job, and we need to problem solve for them. How do they get to this appointment? What are they going to do about accommodation? What are they going to do about flights? Yeah, and it's nice to have this attitude. Yeah, maybe I need to know more about the context of it, and it will be ideal to have this concept, but how realistic is that kind of thing when we are dealing on a professional level, when our job is, when that's why we rank them, you know, to help them get to their appointments.
Yeah. You know, it will be interesting to see from now on how this will make a difference with you, into how you may behave in a different way. Because just before you say something, maybe a little thought comes in, and you just hold in for a moment and review what you just wanted to do, and you remember what we were talking about now, and you will get into this meeting with that patient with a different kind of attitude or thought, and that is actually, this is all how every one of us is learning, right? So there is something that is new, and said, wow, this really make me feel this is something profound, and let me see how that actually will play out if I put more attention to that from now on. Yeah.
Right, because also there's the issue of like you were saying, you're the one who needs to problem solve, and people don't know what their needs are. So maybe that's also an issue of time, where the person, maybe their need at that point is having a little bit more time to figure out what their needs are, right? Because it can be a whirlwind of decision making and all those kinds of things. So maybe that's also what you were talking about, Elke, that little break in time where you just think, okay, hang on, what does this person need to figure out their needs? And maybe it's just 5 minutes of time where they don't have to rush from decision to decision to decision, and it could just be something that slows time down, or that makes a little bit more space for emotions to be processed, or something like that. And we'll be very happy to jump into the context of this basic attitude, which is considered to be basically the solution to most toxic dynamics. Let's not necessarily call it toxic, but that are creating problems. And not sure how many of you have heard of the drama triangle. I'm sure there's some of you. It was
show of hands. Who has
you have
the drama triangle? Oh, Stella, okay. Let's see. You can also put like just a one in the chat, just one if you have heard about it.
Oh.
It's a social work thing. As a social worker in the UK, okay. we use this all the time.
Yeah. So feel free to chirp in whenever you think, this is something that I'm familiar with, or anything.
Well, I was just about to say, in terms of the basic attitude thing, I was just thinking that to me sounds a lot like what I would call the solution focused approach, where you're working in co-production with the person to jointly come up with a solution so that you each take responsibility.
Yes, absolutely. To be more the creator instead of the victim, for example, which is one of the positions in the drama triangle, it was developed, I think, in 1968 by Cartman, and it's about a system, interpersonal system, where you have these 3 positions, but we basically bounce around from one position to the next within this triangle. So it's not like one person is always the persecutor, one person is always the rescuer, and one person is always the victim, but it's more by the change in the dynamic, or certain events that happen, you can be the rescuer, and the next moment you're the victim, and then you turn into the persecutor. However, there are people who have a go-to position. Like some people are more often the victim, or some people identify as the rescuer, and other people are persecuting, although they might feel victimized. They might feel like the victim. And I think there have been studies that I think something shocking, like 87% or 85% actually would rather define as a victim than a persecutor, when we know often that's not the best.
And this is also how it goes, right? Because if you are rather a victim, you probably always look for a rescuer, so, and vice versa. So that's why, as long as we are in these roles, we will not change anything. We can only change when one of us is exiting this triangle.
Yes.
And
which is
Yeah. So what we want to explain a little bit more, going a bit more into details of these different roles, so that you can also, when you speak with someone, you can actually recognize it in your private conversations, and also see how maybe you slip in one of these positions, and you have never been aware of. But now with this tool, that is really great. So you get a much better understanding also of your own behavior. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the starting with the victim. It's not, no, most people don't really want to identify as a victim, and most people don't go through life saying I'm a victim. But I'm sure you know quite a few people who do feel, and maybe this counts you in too, who feel powerless, hopeless, helpless, ashamed, and they don't really have agency. They're not good at problem solving or making decisions. They look to others, usually the rescuers, for decision making, and also they are easily victimized and kind of attract the persecutors. That's not saying that it's good to victimize the victim. It's just a typical movement in this dynamic. And
yeah,
maybe
because there cannot be like two victims together, because it will not go anywhere, right? So it's yeah, so they just pity themselves, maybe. I don't know.
well, there is some victim Olympics sometimes, when you have two people, but they tend to position the other as the persecutor. This is the couples therapist speaking to me right now. So sorry for that. There's that dynamic that a victim usually is looking for somebody to make decisions for them or to save them. Right. The way to get out of that, and the way to take personal responsibility, is figure out what you want, say what you want, and take actions. Also, being true to your work, like keeping agreements, and being grateful, counting your blessings, and asking yourself, how can I get what I really want in a healthy way that isn't in this one down position? Because usually that's what the victim takes, is right. We were talking before about seeing eye to eye and eye level, and usually the victim prefers the position of one down, which can end in very unhealthy dynamics. Do you have anything to add to that, Elke, or should we move on to the persecutor?
I think you did that really well. I'm always looking into myself also, how that rings true for me. So I'm definitely not a victim, but I think I get easily into the persecutor role.
Well, there's also something about people who take that one down position, even though they don't have to, that makes others aggressive. And that's not pushing blame on them. That's just a natural fact. So persecutors tend to be drawn to victims also because it's a good way to channel their aggressions. They're usually also anxious, and they control their anxiety by being critical, controlling, blaming, angry, oppressive, taking that one-up position. So they're very authoritarian. They like to enforce rules, which is also known to release dopamine in the brain. So that's a fun fact on the side. And they feel superior. So they use the victim to put themselves in that one-up position. They threaten, they bully, and once they are criticized for this, you may be familiar with this, they tend to say, I'm just giving you the truth so that you can function better. So they do have a way of flipping things around and misrepresenting themselves. The way to get out of this is to get in touch better with their emotions usually, and to have a better sense of their own anxiety, their own feelings of being small, of being inadequate, usually, then to state clear boundaries, to be better listeners, and also to, sorry?
For me, I just thought, okay, if I experience myself in a situation like this, then I, because of all the experience that I have right now, I will get into the mood of, okay, what does the other person mirrors me? Yeah. And that will help me to come into an equal position again. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent remark in this relation to be like, okay, if I feel triggered by this person, why? What's the what's the cause for the trigger? And maybe that's something that I haven't really integrated within myself, or that I push to the side because it's just impractical or overwhelming. Which brings us to, unless you want to add something to that, that brings us, to the rescuer. And often this person is shown wearing a Superman cape and coming into the rescue to help the poor victim, which also is a one-up position, and it doesn't align with the issue of I'm okay, you're okay. It speaks more in the direction of you're not okay, and I have to come in and rescue you, and you're dependent on me to rescue you. So what this also does is taking responsibility away from the person in the victim position, which sometimes is what they want, but it kind of reinforces the problem. What they're doing is they're soothing the victim. They need to feel needed or to feel important, and they basically help to maintain the victim's status. What they're doing is that they're looking at the other person as this poor little victim who needs help, without looking at how they need help and what their own what they bring into the story. So their main motivation is to avoid their own issues, which some of us in in the mental health field or the medical field might be familiar with, and might also have worked on in their trainings, that a lot of people who get into these professions, me included, have this rescuer mentality, which is really important to work on, because I found I'm not helping people at all. I'm just basically keeping them in the position that they're in when I have this bleeding heart mentality, instead of looking, giving them the message, I care about you and I know you're capable, and just let them help themselves, basically, or maybe provide them with good information by challenging their position as a victim, for example, which can be more self-empowering and can bring back their agency more than trying to make them stay the victim so that you can still feel important as their rescuer.
Yeah, so this goes very, very deep, this work, yeah? When we start to examine our own behavior in these close encounters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's why...
Sagita just wrote, this be seen booster for the helper, and that's absolutely the case, I would say. It's reinforcing. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Tara.
All right, so should we start?
Yeah, now basically we have a test for you, because maybe you would like to experience or get a little bit better idea of where you are actually on this plane, yeah, in this triangle. So Tara, she has put, or maybe you need to redo this.
I think I need to do that again.
Yeah. So when you open the chat, you can see that you can download a document, and so please do so. And so this is a set of questions you go through, and you mark for yourself, and you will come to a result. And once you're done, you just can put something in the chat box, done or ready or something like this, and then we know we will go and work with this test result.
Right. And also put you in small groups again? No, we're going to start with the
First, we talk about the test, and then we will do the breakout sessions. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. You complete the test, and then we put you in the small groups, and then you exchange the information with your colleagues, right? Okay.
So we will put you also now again into a breakout room where you can just discuss this, and the objectives are, maybe you just bring up that slide again, Tara.
Yeah, I just lost everything. But here we are again.
Yeah, so, now you can exchange the information, and maybe what has really been, maybe some unusual things, maybe something that you have not really come up with before, and to see also how this impacts you and others when you behave this way, and the dynamics that arise through this, and what would be the aim now for you? Yeah, so I put it, since some had to go already, we're just 5 at the moment left, so we will just do 2 rooms. Yeah, and so we see you. We don't take much too long, so maybe just 5-6 minutes, and then we will bring you back. Okay, so enjoy. Okay, we're all. I mean, like Tara and I, we really would love to hear what your insights were on this topic. That if you had some key moments, some highlights, something that you said, wow,
One thing I shared and one thing I experienced when my mother had cancer, the family dynamics really come into this drama.
Oh, good. Yes.
And it's really important to put and pull yourself out of the triangle to be more objective and try to help the family. We will take on different roles regardless, or rather, not regardless, depending on the situation that we find ourselves in. And generally, what we are in the family may not necessarily be what we are outside of the family. But that might, also listening to those who were with me in the group, I think all of us go through that process of compensating for something that isn't found in the family dynamics.
Yeah. Very good. So were you aware of this before, or this questionnaire, or this kind of way of thinking about it gave you some new insights on this?
While I was aware of the drama triangle, I never really considered looking at it from the perspective of illness in the family. Mm-hmm. And that really sort of made me step back. And I know I will have to do a lot of reflecting on that and the experience we went through, But it's good to keep going back to the drama triangle. Yeah, sure, you study it, but whether you really actually go back after studying it and go back to it after 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I'm pretty sure as the situations change, many things will also be changing there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stella. Anybody else would like to share something with us here?
If I may say, I think it's more like we play different roles in different domains, I would say. Yeah, because we can't be like a rescuer in all the domains. It just doesn't work. Like, reflecting what Stella has mentioned, and we realize that in the group as well, like we can't be a rescuer even in the family because we want to rekindle or rather preserve the relationship. So at times, we know that we are being victimized, but we let it go and we don't prosecute or something whatsoever. So that is one thing that I've learned from there. And again, the same thoughts in line with what Stella has mentioned. It's good to go back to this triangle just to reevaluate where are we at that moment, so that we don't go too deep into one role rather. Yeah, I think that's what I would like to share. So that we can, that will actually keep us like on our feet on what we are doing or overdoing something of a role. Yeah. That would be my take on this.
That was a great insight. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Shagita.
Thank you.
Because it also plays into this thing of how once you're in that triangle, you move around and you're not always in the one position, but depending on the situation, depending on the dynamic, you might just, even in one situation, you might jump from one to the other. So that whole thing of trying to step out of that triangle, which is disorienting for the system, right? If you imagine you've been the victim and suddenly you start identifying as the creator and you want to take more responsibility, there could be a pressure to conform you back or to pressure you back into that victim position. So it's not just all roses and sunshine, right? It's hard work. And I think therefore it's also good to go back to it, reevaluate, and see also how the other people in that dynamic, what roles do they take, right? And can I challenge that and change that dynamic? So it's a lot of work. It's a nice process.
Yeah, wonderful process. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so very much for contributing and letting others also participate on your experience, and what has made now, what some insights that you had. That's really wonderful. Okay. Yep. So it seems we're done with the sharing. And so we, as I said, we will come slowly to an end of today. And so how we have worked today with each other, this is actually how our training is also made. So we have bi-weekly meetings when you pick up the cancer coaching program, where you will, like when you're on your own, you will go through the material. And then when we meet every 2 weeks, then we will go through and rehearse and go through the situations, go through the tools together. And we also will have breakout sessions, where you can work with other participants. So that's why we wanted to have this first introduction, that you get already a little bit of a taste on how this training will be. And so the first start, so because we're just starting with the English version, so we have done this in German language for a long time, but the English version is starting now on June 17. So although you know probably already that you can come in at any time during whenever you feel like, but because we are starting this now, we also have an early bird, which we don't have after that time. And so we come to the early bird is you will get, after today, you will also receive an email where everything is listed again and you can look at it. So we have an early bird. So the regular price, because it is made in euro, is 1,995, and the early bird is 400 euros lesser, so that is quite a number. So 1,500 euros and 95 or 98. But, if you are a super early bird, then we even have something more for you, because if you decide to join our training, can you just go to the next slide, Tara? Yes, you will also receive this pyramidal salutogenesis course. This is based on Robert Dills, who is an NLP trainer, like one of the biggest NLP trainers, and who has come up with this logical levels, or these levels of alignment. So if we change one thing, how will affect this all the other things in our, like it is environment, if it is our relationships, and to put this together with the salutogenesis. And this is a very interesting concept, and you will get this course for free on top of it, where you will be guided through 21 days, and this will take you really deep into your personal setup of emotions and works, so that you understand yourself even better. Yeah. So if you think of until April 25, but everything will be in the email that you will be sent to maybe tomorrow, and then you can still think about it. So maybe you have some questions also to the training itself, and we would like to open the mics for everyone to ask whatever comes to your mind, whatever you would like to have clarification on it.
And if you don't know and anything comes up later, you can also go to the website. Let me bring, I think it's in the last, it's the TBA Care website that you find at the bottom here, www.tba.care. And you can also contact us if you don't have a question now, but after we're done here, you realize, I forgot to ask this, just feel free to ask it through email or the website.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did email a question in through the website about what will we come away from the course with? What is the certificate what does the certificate actually say? So it's a certificate of completion.
Yeah, as a cancer coach, so for these kind of training courses, it's not easy to get kind of a certification board. So TBA Care is, for this program, also certified by the TÜV Nord. That is for Europe something like a very important provider of certifications. They look really into quality of delivery and all these kind of things, So they went with Thomas, our founder, for 2 full days to examine the whole program back and forth to get that certification. So it's not easy to get, because it is not like an official, how can I say, it's not a university course, right, where you get this kind of certification, or this is not like a registered nurse certification or something. So this is the most that probably can be provided, so that you learn something where you can build your a career on. So you will be really set with a bag of tools where you can then start working with cancer patients. Yeah. And is there anywhere that we can have a very detailed outline of what's going to cover? I know I did see an outline, but like, are there specific units? Are there counseling skills that will be included in the course? Yes, so we have because the tools, they are based on how to work with someone, right? How to guide them through an experience. And and we will rehearse this also in our sessions when we are together. So, you learn self-paced, and then in our bi-weekly meetings, this is then when we work together, and you can have with another student, you can work on these assessments or, counseling skills that you have learned in the course. Yes, because it's always, one is theory and the other one is like, okay, how do we get that into praxis? So we definitely, our aim is that you really can go out there and help people, right? And it's not just some nice words on a piece of paper. So that really enables you to start working with clients. Yeah.
Stella, you have your hand up?
Yes. Just to follow up what you were saying, Alka, in terms of practice, they happen during the bi-monthly meetings, if I understand
Bi-weekly,
right.
yeah, bi-weekly.
Are there expected deliverables, as it would be, as you said, this is not a university course, no? But if you go through counseling, if you go through something in university, you're expected to come up with practicum or something like that. Is that expected if we do take on this course?
You mean like that you have to record a session with the client, or what do you mean?
Yes, something like that, or that we have to take transcripts. We actually have to, wherever we find ourselves in, find a cancer patient or a family member and have to walk with them. And I mean, is that going to be required of us in this course?
So there is definitely in order for you to pass, it is not just, okay, yes, this person attended. So we also would like to see and make sure that our students have understood what is needed and to help them really get started. So we have like a set of requirements, what you need to submit and how often also you have to show up in these practice sessions. So it's not that you can just book the course and then after 1 year you get the certificate and never have shown up. So, there is a commitment that we need to see. And of course, sometimes something can happen. And we have also, we have recordings available. We also have a private Facebook group where you can work together as students with us if there are any questions. So there we have.
Where can we find this set of requirements?
Actually, I'm not sure if this is also on the website.
I don't think I've read that yet. And what are the assessments involved will be good to know too.
Okay. Maybe what we can do is we will discuss this with Thomas, and because from the office, they will send out the email, after the class, where they can just take care of these few questions. Yeah. And either have a link to the website where it is, because they have done so many adjustments to the English website, so I'm not quite sure. I have not to tell you. So looked right before what is now really already up on the English website and whatnot.
Yeah, I think we'd all appreciate that because we're all asking, I mean, even going through the chat box now, really in terms of the requirements.
Okay. I think
and
that's,
especially as you mentioned, excuse me, Tara, no, as Elka mentioned, there are deadlines. So we will have to try to see if that fits really into schedules.
So what you have 1 year for the whole course, okay? So that is already like the outline, yeah, that you have 1 year of time to go through everything. And then, some people maybe have go through earlier or, but if you would need longer, then probably we need to talk and see how we can extend it,
When you say earlier, is this because it is self-paced?
It is self-paced because you will get the material and actually, you know what? I think you need that. You cannot really go faster because the modules will be opened after, you have gone through. And then you also have homework to submit. Yeah. And if you have not done that, then the next module will not be opened. So, yeah. So it's not just, okay, it's, so it is really, our emphasis is that you have practical things that you will do. Yeah. It's either a test, or you need to read something, or you need to watch something, so that you are prepared when we meet in our sharing sessions, so that we all can work together, right? And try something that you would like, because you have now had that experience like in a theory, and now you would like to see, okay, how can that practically work? Yeah. And that's what you will do that then with the other students. So and there are so many tools that we are including, because we follow this, the 6-phase system that Thomas has developed from his own practice of working with cancer patients. And so for every stage of the phase, or for every phase, we have different tools that just help the patients to deal with that, whatever they have to face. Yeah. So it takes quite some time to digest and go through everything. Yeah. Because it's really detailed. It's not just, okay, you just get a certificate and yeah. It's not about the certificate. It's about the confidence that you also have, to be able to work with people, and make a living with what you love doing. Yeah, helping others.
Is there a minimum number of participants or signing up before the course can go ahead?
No.
Because
No, it will be just then smaller numbers of people that will be in the biweekly sessions, but we will be definitely there. And so, so that has nothing to do. And because this is now only the start, once the start is over, that means anybody can start at any time. So you can, it's not like this starts on 17th June and then it only goes until next year. No, you can start also in August or, in December. And then you would just take wherever we are in the teaching, you will start there and then go through the year. Yeah. So you don't start from the, phase 1. So maybe then in December we are at phase 4, and then you have, you start with phase 4 and then go until you get to the phase 1,
So like Stella said, will we have a little preview into the calendar of the 12 months? Like, is there any holidays so that we can plan our lives around it?
Well, I mean, how you learn for yourself, when you do that, doesn't matter to us, right? So this is how you organize that with your life. Our days of teaching is Saturdays. So every 2 weeks on a Saturday, that's where we will be here. And this is what you need to schedule.
Okay. And more or less, are we looking at the same time?
Yes, I think so. I think this works good for this part of the world. And, we can so this will take care of some of the Asians and also some of the English-speaking Europeans. So this is a good time, I think.
So usually how long is a session? 2 hours?
Yes. But more is like, exhausting. Yeah. So, yes.
And you were saying that if we can't attend, there is a recorded session?
Yes. There's always a recorded session. And so, but you need to show up live a certain numbers, or I don't have that in mind now, but like maybe 80% or something that you have to be there in person. Yeah. But there is always, of course, there is everything is recorded.
Is it Saturday where you are?
Yes. Where are you from?
I'm in Western Australia.
Okay. So you have a little late.
So it's dinner time.
Yes.
Hi. Din dins.
Yes. Yeah, well, we can also do an hour earlier, so it doesn't have to be like today. We could do an hour earlier, for 2 hours. That's also fine. We will see, or we can make adjustments, but this is for, when we go into American market, then it is like a different time. But for here, yes, you have dinner time. Western Australia is Perth, right? Or something, right? On that side. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we got that. You like to have the outline of, the learnings and the requirements, and so we will make sure that this will be included in the email that you will receive from us. Yeah. Wonderful.
Otherwise, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I've learned quite a bit, even in a short session, and it's pretty interesting concepts. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for participating.
Yes, you have permission to leave, Register. We're closing for all of us. And Tara, do you have a last word?
Thank you so much. This has been very interesting for us too.
Exactly. So
Great to get
wonderful to meet these beautiful women here from different parts of the world, and to see that, we're all sharing some same passions and some same interests, and we want to make the world a bit better. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for your time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.